Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Join the Patreon for these character sheets and a whole bunch more, and like and subscribe for more Brotherhood next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building the Blob and Toad from the Brotherhood of Mutants. I always love building mutants because they tend to be weird gimmick builds that let me push D&D to the furthest place it can go. Sometimes they also make good characters, and sometimes they're actually multi-talented enough to be more than just one gimmick. So if you like gimmicks, the Blob will be trying to make the character that's the hardest for other characters to move, and if you like multi-talented characters, Toad has all the powers of a frog. Frogs have a lot of powers.
The world could fall before the blood-curdling threat of the Blob.
Starring Steve McQueen and a cast of exciting young people.
We'll start off with the Blob because that's the gimmick, and I'm a bit more excited for that. In fact, instead of talking about goals, we're going to talk about things that could move you. First, your basic shoving, grappling, and strength saving throws. Then you've got levitation and telekinesis, the latter of which is basically another shove or grapple. Finally, Thunderwave, which is a constitution saving throw, so it's comparable to levitate. For stats, that means that we need strength, constitution, and very little else. But I guess since we can have something else up at 15 with strength and constitution from the point buy, let's go for charisma. It's a surprise tool that will help us later. And banishment could count as a form of being moved, right? But with 3 15s, you need 3 8s. So dexterity, intelligence, and wisdom can all drop down to the bottom. It's a big bottom, but this is Blob. He's gonna have a big bottom. Blob is a mutant, so he can't get anything close to human. That's why we're gonna use custom lineage. It's totally different. Grab skill expert for your feat of choice, giving you +1 strength and another skill like athletics, and expertise in a skill like athletics, doubling your proficiency bonus with the skill. Bump your strength even higher with your 2 free points from custom lineage. That gives you a strength score of 18 and a modifier of +4, +8 to your athletics checks at level 1. That means that you're going to be very hard to shove, even if we're not quite immovable yet. We don't need a lot of skills. Custom lineage can get dark vision instead of the extra skill humans get, so I don't know, maybe do that. For your background, gladiator gives you acrobatics and performance. I don't really want any of those, but Winston fights monster trucks, so that's a gladiator. We'll kick things off as a barbarian. I like their strength and constitution saving throws. They also get 2 more skills like intimidation and boy howdy, animal handling, I guess. Toad isn't an actual toad. This boy does not need skills. Thankfully, you do need rage, giving you advantage on strength checks and saves, extra damage to your strength-based attacks, and resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for a minute. Nothing hurts the Blob! You also get unarmored defense, making your AC 10 plus your dexterity and constitution modifier when you're not wearing armor. With skin that thick, nothing hurts the Blob! Alright, that's enough barbarian for now. Let's jump over to the blobbiest class. Paladin. It's a weird pick, but most runs of the Blob, he's working in the service of the Master of Magnetism. I can't remember that guy's name. Metallo? Anyway, you get Divine Sense to sense Celestials, Fiends, and Undead a number of times equal to your Charisma modifier, and Lay on Hands to heal creatures from a pool equal to 5 times your Paladin level. Use it to bounce back with some extra girth, I guess. Paladin 2 is really where it starts, giving you a fighting style like Blessed Warrior for 2 spells from the Cleric list, like Guidance and Resistance, which give a creature a d4 to add to ability checks or saving throws respectively. One will help with your athletics checks to contest shoving and grappling attempts, and the other will help you with your strength saving throws. You also get spells from Paladin. Shield of Faith adds 2 to a creature's AC to make up for how low your dexterity is. Thunderous Smite lets you add 2d6 thunder damage to a weapon attack and force a strength saving throw on a creature you hit, pushing them back 10 feet if they fail. Since the spell specifies a weapon, you can't use your unarmed attacks. But Blob uses a spiked mace in the arcade game, so obviously you're allowed to do the same. Also, you were anyway. Change these builds however you want, I can't arrest you. But Jeremy Crawford will arrest you if you try to use a Divine Smite on an unarmed strike, adding 2d8 radiant damage to a weapon attack and an additional d8 to fiends and undead. But if you did it to your fist, that would break immersion. It only costs a spell slot, and that spike mace is glowing with something in the arcade game. Third level paladins can choose a Sacred Oath. Oath of Glory gets some more strong stuff from one of their channels of divinity, so we'll go with that. Fearless Athlete lets you give yourself advantage on strength checks and saves for a minute, doubles your carrying capacity, and lifting, pushing, and dragging capacity as well, not to mention adding 10 feet to your jump distance. With your strength, you're almost as good at jumping as Toad is. Inspiring Smite lets you add 2d8 plus your Paladin level in temporary HP after you smite, but just give it to yourself for inhuman levels of thickness. Or, sorry, mutant levels of thickness. Inhumans are a different thing. 4th level Paladins get an ability score improvement, cap off your strength for the ultimate athletics and strength saving throws. For now. 5th level Paladins get an extra attack, letting you make 2 attacks instead of 1 with your action. Just because you're big doesn't mean you're slow. Momentum is a real humdinger. We don't need any 2nd level spells, just smite bigger. 6th level Paladins do get a thing we need, Aura of Protection, adding your Charisma modifier to the saving throws of creatures within 10 feet of you. That includes you, so you can add 2 to your strength saving throws at this point. How this works for other creatures, you're really big. You provide cover with cultivated mass. Okay, now we need to get more massive by jumping over to fighter. First thing you get is a fighting style, like unarmed fighting to deal 1d6 damage with your unarmed attacks, or 1d8 when you have 2 free hands. You also deal a d4 of damage per round to a creature you have grappled. Side effect of being harder to push, you also have the highest grapple check possible. Blob obviously is a hugger. Second wind lets you recover 1d10 plus your fighter level as a bonus action, once per short rest, for even more resilience. Second level fighters get an action surge, letting you make 2 actions in 1 turn, once per short rest. Maybe a grapple, then a giant jump for a butt slam with extra fall damage. I think that sounds rad. Third level fighters can choose a martial archetype. Rune knights can become large with giant's might, making you large, giving you advantage on strength checks and saves, and an extra d6 of damage to 1 attack per round. These last for a minute depending on your concentration. You can also grab 2 runes, like the Frost rune, to make your strength checks even stronger. That lets you give yourself +2 to strength and constitution checks for 10 minutes, once per short rest. So that's +15 at this point, 2 points higher than a capped off Barbarian. Technically, we could still grab the skill expert feat with that, but the reason that we did multi-classing instead of just sticking with Barbarian is for the extra charisma bonus to the saving throws. Unfortunately, you can't hit Barbarian level 20 and Paladin level 6 in the same build. Anyway, you also get advantage on intimidation and animal handling checks, even though Toad is not a literal toad. For your other rune, Cloud will give you advantage on sleight of hand and deception checks. You also get to use your reaction to change the target of an attack against one creature within 30 feet of you to another creature within 30 feet of you, letting you take a hit for your tiny froggy buddy. Fourth level fighters get another ability score improvement. Round up your charisma and constitution modifiers for more HP and +1 to all of your saving throws, as well as saving throws of the people around you. Fifth level fighters get nothing. Extra attacks don't stack. Arrest me. I stink at this. I'm bad. I'm doo-doo. Sixth level fighters get another ability score improvement. Push your charisma modifier higher for another +1 to all of your saving throws. Seventh level rune knights get runic shield, meaning that when a creature within 60 feet of you is hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to force an attacker to re-roll, an amount of times per long rest equal to your proficiency bonus. Magic of the giants or magic of the dude is big, you decide. You can also grab another rune. Hill giants get advantage on saves against being poisoned and resistance to poison damage, and you can give yourself resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for a minute per short rest. Nothing hurts the blob. 8th level fighters get another ability score improvement, so you can cap off your charisma modifier for maximum saving throw potential. Even the abilities you're bad at, like dexterity, intelligence, and wisdom, still have a +4 modifier from the aura of protection. It's so busted, it's hilarious. To make that even more silly, 9th level fighters get Indomitable, letting you re-roll a failed saving throw once per long rest. So even if you did fail that strength save, no you didn't. 10th level rune knights get Great Stature, making you 3d4 inches taller, and your giant's might now deal a d8 instead of a d6. For this level's rune, Storm gives you advantage on Arcana checks, and you won't be surprised while you're awake. You can also go into a prophetic state for a minute per short rest, letting you give a creature you can see advantage on an attack roll, saving throw, or ability check using your reaction. So you can use it on shove attempts or strength saving throws for basically 10 more uses of Indomitable, if you have to make a save every turn. That also works on checks. It's wild that you get this from Storm. I always thought she didn't like you. 11th level fighters get another extra attack that does stack for 3 attacks per round with your action, or up to 6 with an action surge. You're so big, every swing of your arms is basically 3 swings. 12th level fighters get another ability score improvement. Bump your constitution modifier for better HP, AC, and constitution saving throws. You already had +14 to the saving throw, but just in case you run into a wizard with a really big Thunderwave save, +15 just feels safer. Our capstone is the 13th level of fighter for one last use of Indomitable. I guess I could tell you that you could use it on death saving throws, but you probably have over 200 HP and giant saving throws. So, just try and use it before you go down. Oh hey, now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you have over 200 HP and saving throws running from +4 to +16 thanks to Aura of Protection with the ability to re-roll 2 fails. Extra advantage from runes, you're just gonna pass the saves. You're also dealing nice and consistent damage with 3 attacks per round, a capped off strength modifier, and a few smites to add some extra oomph if you roll a critical hit. Finally, you're really scary. Side effect of the immobilizing aura boost, you have +11 to intimidation checks with advantage as a rune knight. For weaknesses, you're pretty loud. Stealth checks are not going to be a great thing for the giant man. Your passive perception is also low, so while you're not being sneaky, the teacher's pets might be able to get the drop on you. Finally, you were bulky enough without that last constitution buff, get Great Weapon Master and use a maul. But using a maul isn't really Blob, the flail is more in character, and you know what? I shouldn't be surprised that this turned out to be a solid build. Turns out when you focus on doing one thing very well, you get a bunch of other skills along the way. Really, you just need someone with mobility and dexterity to round off your very few weaknesses.
But sometimes, more unexpected sounds grab our attention. Like this desert rain frog.
Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, Mort is a victim of Criss Cross. They made him jump. Crisscross will do that. Next, we need to get nasty, sweating out stinky toxins and barfing acid on people. Finally, we need to fight good, even though there's a whole bunch of X-mans around us. X-mans sounds wrong. Is there another plural way to say that? Person's X? For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just keep your multi-classing minimums in mind. Dexterity will be number 1. If you and the Blob are a power couple, you need the powers he lacks. Also, yeah, I'm shipping Toad and Blob, finish the video anyway, coward. Wisdom next. Part of high reflexes is sharp senses, it's why monks get the perception skill. Constitution after that, despite being a smaller guy, Morty can take some hits. Follow that up with strength, you can make athletics checks with your tongue, probably, maybe, I'd allow it. Intelligence is a bit low, you're not actually a bad student, you just get bullied for smelling bad until a nice metal man lets you join his political violence club. Charisma is the dump stat. You smell bad, but you don't have to with today's sponsor Manscaped. They're not sponsoring this one? Oh, little freebie for them then. Mutants aren't human and neither are grung. They're frog people. They get +2 to their dexterity and +1 constitution. They're amphibious to breathe in water and on land, and they have sticky toes to stick to walls and ceilings. Poison immunity makes them immune to poison, and poison skin lets them force a DC 12 constitution saving throw on creatures they touch, poisoning them if they fail. You can even coat a weapon or ammunition in your stinky secretions. That weapon will deal 2d4 extra poison damage on a failed constitution save instead of applying the poisoning effect. Probably because poisons are different when they're ingested or shot directly into the bloodstream. The most important part is the standing leap, giving you 25 feet of horizontal jump distance and 15 feet of vertical jump distance without even having to run up. Toad kind of gets most of his toady powers from his race rather than with his levels, but like Mystique and Changeling, Grung does not automatically make a Toad. You could make a Grung Barbarian. That's not a Toad. Anyway, you also get Perception for free, and we'll grab the Urchin background for stealth and sleight of hand proficiency. That'll help you use your dexterity to get your sneaky frog on. We'll kick things off as a monk for 2 skills from the monk list, like athletics and acrobatics, that will help you get your nimble frog on. You get martial arts, letting you make unarmed attacks using your dexterity modifier, and you can make unarmed attacks as a bonus action after you make one with your action. They even get bumped up to a D4. Keep in mind, unarmed just means not a weapon. There's nothing in the rulebook that says you can't make this a tongue slap. Unless you are wearing armor, then you can't use martial arts, so you can't tongue slap with armor on. Thankfully, you get unarmored defense, making your AC 10 plus your dexterity and wisdom modifier when you're not wearing armor. It is not easy to catch a frog. Go try it. It's December. Most of you can't. Second level monks get key points they can use to do cool frog stuff like Step of the Wind to double your jump distance and let you dash or disengage as a bonus action. That's 30 feet of jump height or 50 feet of horizontal jumping. Not bad, but we can do better. Patient Defense lets you dodge as a bonus action, giving enemies disadvantage on their attacks against you until the start of your next turn. This is a really great crowd control option. Flurry of Blows lets you make 2 unarmed attacks instead of 1 with your bonus action. That's up to 3 attacks per round if you're keeping track at home. I hope you're keeping track at home. It's only 3, that's not very many. But 10 extra feet of movement is quite a bit, and that's what you get from unarmored movement, so now you're not dealing with a slower movement speed as a grung. Third level monks get Deflect Missiles, letting you reduce damage from incoming ranged attacks by 1d10 plus your dexterity modifier and monk level. If you drop the damage to 0, you can even throw it back with a key point. I bet your sticky fingers are really good at playing catch. You can also choose a monastic tradition. Drunken monks are the best movers thanks to the drunken technique, creative name, letting you disengage with 10 feet of extra movement speed after you use a flurry of blows. Since you have a really good jump distance, you could basically hang out on a 10-foot ceiling, drop to the ground, spin to win, and bounce back to the ceiling out of reach. I love it. You also get proficiency with performance skills and brewer supplies, though I wouldn't drink anything Morty makes. No offense. 4th level monks get a very important piece of the Toad puzzle. Slowfall lets you reduce falling damage by 5 times your monk level as a reaction. Very useful when you can blast 30 feet into the air with a Step of the Wind. You also get an ability score improvement, round up your dexterity and wisdom scores. Toad is getting the standard monk stats, but the standard monk stats are good for Toad, and they're really good for Grung. We'll talk more about that later. 5th level monks get an extra attack, letting you make 2 attacks instead of 1 with your action, or up to 4 with a flurry of blows. You can do some straight up capoeira spinning kick techniques with this, and each spin deals a d6 of damage since your monk die scales up as well. You also get Stunning Strike, letting you spend a key point to force a Constitution saving throw on a creature you hit with an attack. Failing that, they're stunned until the end of your next turn. It'll give you advantage on follow-up attacks, but also some more free disengagement. You're so good at getting away. 6th level Drunken Masters get Tipsy Sway, letting you stand up from prone with 5 feet of movement instead of half, and if a creature misses you with a melee attack, you can spend a key point to make them hit someone else within their range. Whoops, Colossus missed and punched Scott right in his perfect face. Not Scott Summers, Scott from NerdSync, good friend, perfect face. Hope you see this, Scott, love you buddy. Sorry Colossus punched you in the face. 7th level monks get Evasion, letting you take half damage on failed dexterity saves and no damage on successful ones. Now Pyro doesn't have to worry about roasting you in the area you're in, you're probably gonna be fine. Probably. It won't be that bad. You also get Stillness of Mind, letting you remove the effects of Frightening and Charming as an action. Thankfully, most of the spookier mutants are on your team, so you shouldn't have to use your action to do this all that often. 8th level monks get another ability score improvement, cap off your dexterity modifier for the best martial arts, and to dodge fireballs as often as possible. At this point, it's time to jump over to Druid for a spell called Jump. That'll triple your jump distance for a minute, that's 45 feet, or sextuple it with Step of the Wind, that's 90 feet vertically or 150 feet horizontally, which you do not have the movement speed to pull off even with a bonus action dash. You'd have to double dash, and Toad wasn't in that game. Well, not this Toad. You can bump your movement speed by 10 feet for an hour with Long Strider for base 50 movement speed, which means maximum height is a go with Step of the Wind, and horizontal is a go with a double dash. Put Blob in the back, his weight will help you drift. For your cantrips, Primal Savagery lets you make a melee spell attack against a creature that deals 2d10 acid damage for some corrosive barf, and Poison Spray forces a constitution saving throw on a creature, dealing 2d12 poison damage if they fail for some stinky barf. I couldn't decide if I wanted acid or poison, but thankfully, Druid doesn't make you choose. 2nd level Druids do get to choose, and you're going to choose Spore Druid, giving you a halo of spores. That lets you force a constitution saving throw on creatures who move within 10 feet of you or start their turn there, dealing a d4 of necrotic damage if they fail. It's basically free opportunity attacks with the saving throw. So, not really like an opportunity attack, it just uses a reaction. You can double that damage by using your wild shapes to activate Symbiotic Entity. It also adds a d6 of necrotic damage to your melee weapon attacks, which does include your unarmed attacks, and gives you 4 temporary HP for every level of Druid you have, so 8 at this point. It lasts for up to 10 minutes, but goes down early if you lose the temporary HP, so try not to get hit. Don't worry though, you're really good at disengaging, just hit and run. 3rd level Druids can learn 2nd level spells. Hold Person forces a wisdom saving throw on a humanoid. Failing that, they're paralyzed for up to a minute depending on your concentration. Stun them with some of your nasty secretions, then critically hit all of your flurry of blows with the symbiotic entity up, and you'll get a combo of 8d6 plus 20 bludgeoning damage and 80d6 necrotic damage. It's basically the 5th level spell hold monster, but for humanoids, so it wouldn't work on sentinels, but that makes sense. I don't think you can spit on a sentinel and poison them. That's enough of that. Time for something useless, with 9th level of monk and unarmored movement improvement, letting you move up walls and over water without falling in while you're unarmored. I guess the water part's useful, but as a grung, you could already go up walls. Thankfully, 10th level monks get purity of body, making you totally immune to poison and disease. God dang it, level 9 and 10 monk are basically just doubling up from grung. I guess the disease is good. Stuff's still bad out there. Please wash your hands. 11th level drunk monks get Drunkard's Luck, letting you spend 2 key points when you have disadvantage on an attack roll, skill check, or saving throw to get rid of the disadvantage. Personally, I don't think this is the best way to use your key points, but it can be useful when you really need to not mess up. Your monk die also bumps up to a d8 here for better tongue whips. 12th level monks get another ability score improvement, bump your wisdom modifier higher for better AC and nastier stunning secretions. 13th level monks get Tongue of the Sun and Moon, letting you communicate with any creature that speaks at least 1 language. Apparently having a very long tongue makes you better at communication, I guess. 14th level monks get Diamond Soul, one of the best abilities in the game, giving you proficiency with all saving throws. Standing next to your big boyfriend, who gives everyone within 10 feet of him an extra +5 to their saving throws, your minimum modifier is +10. That's bananas. 15th level monks get Timeless Body, so you no longer feel the effects of aging. Every Marvel character should have this, as should every member of The Simpsons. 16th level monks get our last ability score improvement or feat. Since wisdom is odd, let's round it up with skill expert and grab another skill like deception, and expertise in a skill, I'll go for athletics. Toad is actually able to lift really well with his legs. Just how you should be lifting too. Stop using your back. I know you think you're young and invincible, but you don't have Timeless Body. Our capstone is the 17th level of Drunken Master for Intoxicated Frenzy, letting you make up to 5 attacks with your flurry of blows as long as they all hit different targets. And since you used flurry of blows, you can disengage with 60 feet of movement speed, which is a standard humanoid's dash distance. So if you're just fighting humanoids, they will not be able to catch you and hit you in the same turn. Oh, I should have saved that for the pros. Well, now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you have 17 flurries of blows, which let you make 4 attacks per round that deal a d10 of damage, possibly with another d6 from Symbiotic Entity. And if you're fighting a member of the X-Men alone with Hold Person, those damage die get doubled. That's 8d10 plus 20 bludgeoning plus 8d6 necrotic damage, or around 84 with median rolls. So your single target fighting is great, but you're also great at handling a crowd, getting to make up to 7 attacks per round with a flurry of blows, and you can get your necrotic damage buff on all of those, then disengage to get away. Oh, and you're really great at getting away with 50 base movement speed, 60 with flurry of blows, 70 with long strider as well, and 15-foot vertical jump distance or 45 with jump. Heck, Step of the Wind to disengage instead of Flurry of Blows, you can clear a 150-foot gap if you want to. For weaknesses, you're ugly and you smell bad, and this build is not good at Charisma. You also didn't get to cap your Wisdom, so your Druid spells could be easily escaped from. Finally, because we only did a 3-level dip into Druid, the symbiotic entity goes away when you lose 12 temporary HP, which is not a lot. But we had to stretch for those weaknesses. Grung make cool monks. Monks are just cool in general, and your boyfriend makes it so you will never fail a saving throw. Get on the big dude's back, jump down to attack, then hop back up. He can tank, you can hit and run. Truly, you're an epic power couple. Just don't leave each other. It would stink if you were X's man. Ooh, X's man, that's how I should say it. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Join the Patreon for this character sheet and a whole bunch more, and sub to Tulok and Mango for more Tulok fun.